We wanted to make a podcast. This is Tube Sunday. The games!
Alrighty everyone, welcome to the first podcast for The Games. I'm Cameron, and starting from left to right, we are joined with...
Aaron.
And...
Adam.
And
Chris.
And here we're going to be talking a little bit about the Nintendo Direct.
And what a direct it was. It was a lot of information, a lot of great news coming out from Nintendo.
Yeah, some really cool stuff from them.
I think it was sort of at a time where they really needed to come out swinging, sort of pre-E3. This is their big shot to get some news in and to get the fans excited. And so a lot of information to disseminate, but let's get to it.
Yeah.
Alright,
So the first main bit of information was the revelation of a release date for the long-awaited Mewtwo DLC for Super Smash Bros. And I think this one is generating a lot of excitement from fans of the franchise who were a bit disappointed to not see him straight out the gate in the game. What do you guys think about that?
Mewtwo is an old favourite, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Back from Melee.
Yeah.
Well, it was one of the things where before they fully announced everyone, like Greninja, when they said there's going to be another Pokemon, everyone's like, obviously Mewtwo's coming back.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people got bummed out when it wasn't him, but I think it's good to just have one of the classic characters back.
Keeping all his moves as well.
And something else with a Mega Form as well. Other than
Yeah.
Charizard.
Yeah, the fact that he's gotten a Mega Form since his sort of inclusion in the game does allow for him to sort of shake that tag that, you know, Mewtwo and Lucario were pretty much quite similar, and there was sort of the criticism of that with the sort of
Cloning and
cloning
stuff, yeah.
aspect of the game, and I
There you
think
go,
that
I think it just adds a bit more to an old character and gives him something new, you know?
Well,
definitely.
what's Charizard's Mega in the game?
It's X.
It's X,
Yeah.
and Mewtwo has the Y one. I think that's
Yeah.
a cool sort. I never even thought about that till now.
Juxtaposition.
yeah.
But I really like the opening video for it. The fact that they opened with that, just the Smash logo is really recognizable now, and just
It
it's
just
getting
set it for on a good tone, I guess.
it's getting way more popular than it used to be. I mean, it's always been sort of like an underground favorite, but it's becoming much more mainstream. And so to have the cross open and then, you know, Mewtwo's iron into the video is really cool. And the fact that they showed all his alternate alternate costume forms and some of his actual in-game moves, I think it's really cool. It's a good way to make like hype about it. And the fact that it's finally announced when it's going to be, and the fact that if you have registered both, you're going to get both a free copy of it, which is really good. And
earlier.
Yeah, and earlier, which is they're finally
April
rewarding
15th.
this type of thing. So yeah, April 15th if you registered both.
I think that kind of loyalty that they know that some of
For the
those
fans.
die-hard Nintendo fans are known for, and starting to actually reward that is something that's really going to pay dividends for them in the long term.
Yeah.
We've seen it with this. We've also seen it with the fact that they've decided to move the Mario Kart DLC up, which is something we'll talk about later on in the show.
Yep.
And I think just the game's been really well received amongst both the casual and the hardcore community.
Yep.
It hasn't maybe necessarily saved the Wii U, but it's certainly bumped up a lot of its numbers, and it's probably their lead game for the in terms of all the stuff they're doing with it.
Yeah.
There's other news to come out of the Nintendo Direct was that they're now also adding these downloadable Mii Fighter costumes.
I think these are really cool. I like
I'm not a fan of them.
I don't like them
Yes.
personally, but what I am happy about is the fact that Nintendo has finally stepped up to not so much freemium, but just downloadable content.
Yeah,
For so long, they've been behind. Like PlayStation and Xbox have been doing downloads and
For a long time.
stuff for years, and Nintendo just didn't do it.
There's
And
that-
now
there's
they're
that Smash
finally
logo.
The
bringing
next
it
big
out.
thing is Lucas, my boy from Brawl. He's back.
I think this.
I'll be up smashing all day, every day.
I think one of the biggest complaints I heard about the game coming out was the fact that they omitted Lucas. And I said from the beginning, he'll be coming out as DLC. Obviously, that was just kind of an inkling. I had no actual sort of
inkling?
inside
Is that a pun?
information.
And here he is, look at him. In
But
all
there
his
he is,
glory.
back with his stupid hair and striped shirt.
Well-
I know, I like Lucas, but I'm just
Comes
not
out of
gonna play.
nowhere.
I've never been a Lucas player. I've never really understood his character's play style, but I'm like any sort of thing, I'm excited to see characters back in the
Yeah,
game.
definitely, that's
I
the
don't want And I think that's what they've realised.
He was big in
as well.
competitive play, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I don't know, man. But like, he was just a fan favorite.
Yeah.
He definitely is a fan
Because
favorite.
people want Earthbound rep. Oh, sorry, Mother 3. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
People want that rep.
There's a lot of buzz around that those games, and the fact that Nintendo released it for the first
I
time. on
legitimately
Virtual
never
Console.
knew he had a snake attack.
That's his grab.
I had no idea.
I had no idea about that either, Cameron.
I've never
So you guys are quite happy with them bringing back older characters instead of like something completely new and
Yes,
different?
absolutely, man.
I think that's what they're working towards, though. Another announcement to come out of the Direct was that for the first time ever, they're having what is called a Smash Ballot,
Yep.
where fans can suggest a character that they want to see in the game. And I think, in this age of, increasing fan involvement and fan say and people always contributing to the conversation, having a way for people to actually reach Nintendo directly and say, this is the character I want in Smash Bros.
I went online immediately after the Direct.
Me too.
And well, I'm sure everyone did. But the buzz, the one thing that almost everyone was happy about was the fact that they were reaching out to people.
Yeah.
I can't really remember the last time Nintendo have done something
No,
like that.
I can't remember either.
But it's opened up a huge window.
Yeah.
And
Ridley.
it's really clever because
The Ridley votes will be
yeah,
flowing.
there's going to be like
I don't
four.
think that's going to happen.
There's going to be
guys.
4 huge ones. I think Waluigi is going to be a huge one. I feel like Rayman should have a big following.
Rayman should
but
be
yeah.
voted for.
Ridley.
Ridley will definitely
We'll
be
have a
voted. We'll
huge
get like
one.
90% of the vote.
Yeah.
Not-
Well, I
not
think
gonna be in
the
game, though.
Rayman thing is interesting because there was a very sort of
Yeah, the
well-produced leak, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
it's not-
generated a lot of
I lost
buzz
my
on the
shit over
internet,
Yeah.
and people
Dude, I thought
were
it was so real.
really clamoring and thinking that this was real, and the internet seemed to be very divided into two camps on this. That people were very much like, what's Rayman done to really deserve to be in a Smash Bros game? And then there's that other alternative that's like, well, we've opened it up, we've had Snake, we've had Sonic in the
Yeah.
game. Why can't we have Rayman
Oh,
put in?
definitely.
Especially after all the titles Ubisoft put out for,
Yeah.
For the Wii,
for
yeah.
Wii U.
For Wii, in
They-
Because
they
for a
supported
long
Wii,
time
they supported
it was
Wii U.
only Ubisoft
Yeah.
games. Let's go into
I'm voting for Zombie U Zombie.
let's go into what we put. So what are you or have
So,
you?
yeah, I haven't
put
voted
in
yet,
ballot?
but I'd really like to see an older character, something like maybe Banjo-Kazooie in some way, shape, form, or Conker.
Aaron,
Some-
it's funny that you mentioned Banjo. I was going to mention this actually, but someone tweeted at Phil Spencer today,
Oh, wow.
and it was like something like any chance of Banjo being in the game, and
Yeah.
Phil Spencer is the CEO
Yeah.
or the head of Microsoft Xbox, I'm pretty sure. And he said, I think it would be cool if Banjo was in the next Smash Brothers DLC. We have worked with Nintendo on rare IP before, no issues.
There you
So-
go.
That surprised the shit out of me.
That
I
is
was not
really
expecting-
surprising to see Phil Spencer be so open to it.
Yeah.
But I think for them, ultimately, the bottom line is if they get a cut of whatever Nintendo gets, and they know that rare IP that they're in
Valuable,
charge of
yeah.
is
Valuable.
very valuable and very well regarded, even after they came out with a failed sort of attempt at revamping Banjo-Kazooie on Xbox 360.
Oh yeah, we won't talk about nuts and bolts.
No,
right now.
I
It's like a
don't think
half-hour discussion.
I don't think anyone wants to try to talk about nuts and bolts. But I think it's funny you should say Banjo-Kazooie. That's another one I've heard a lot of buzz about just online. Another one I've heard a lot of buzz about is Goku from Dragon
Oh
Ball
man,
Z,
Goku.
which I think
Just break the game.
Yeah.
but it's
You just feel a spirit bomb and that's it.
Yeah.
you look at the main audience for Smash Bros. It's these people that have grown up with the game, that were playing Smash Bros. When they were 10, 11 years old, and at that time, it was those animes that were
Yeah.
really popular, and I think there will be a really a strong push to see maybe Goku come in.
Be so amazing.
I do think
I don't see
I do
it
think
But I
Goku
don't
has
see
his
it
own
happening.
games. Like Goku does, they have Xenoverse and stuff like that. So I do think Goku does have his own forum.
Yeah.
And
Well, let's get back to track. So let's assume you're going for Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
What would you have? So like, what would his smash be? What would his
Ooh,
sort
that
of
is
static
tough.
grab
That's
be?
a tough one,
And just
yeah.
random attacks.
his
like
grab
what
would have to
would
be something with Kazooie coming out of his
Mm.
backpack and pecking or something like that. Yeah. Smash would be a hard one.
But see, I don't see it being that different to Duck Hunt.
That's what I was
yeah.
thinking because
Yeah.
Just make it a skin.
when it
honestly.
came out, it seriously everyone was like, "Oh, Banjo-Kazooie skin."
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, I think Banjo-Kazooie is feasible with the move set, and I think people remember those games, and they did have a varied sort of move set. and is really a wholly original character. Another one that I've seen some buzz around, is Waluigi.
Another classic.
I think, look, I will fully support Waluigi for Smash Bros. Because I think he's being largely ignored as a Nintendo character.
Well, he doesn't even have his own standalone
he's a
game.
joke.
He's
No,
the only
he
one-
was.
He was in tennis, but it wasn't his game.
He has played a villainous role in a Mario game. A little game on GameCube came out called Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix.
I did not know that.
And Waluigi was the villain. No, he was. And it wasn't Bowser, it wasn't Wario, it was entirely Waluigi that had stolen the music keys from the Mushroom Kingdom. And Mario had to dance his way to save the Mushroom Kingdom. And I think...
People say Nintendo games are for kids.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they are at all. If you play DDR in an arcade, you've seen how hard and how hectic it can be.
Alright,
So, who did you vote for, Cam?
So I voted for Rayman.
Oh, of course.
So here's why. Okay, first and foremost, his design is simple enough that it fits right in with Smash Bros. He's got like pre-made attacks from the game. So he's got his punch. There you've got your standard B. He's got like characters and friends from the game that can be his final smash. So
easy,
final
yeah,
smash, Murphy comes in and just starts attacking the screen.
Yeah. You could even
real-
control it with the gamepad or
Yeah,
something.
like if you want to get into depth with that, like maybe sort of similar to like Super Saiyan Sonic or Pikachu's
Yeah.
Thunder thing.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
Like
cool.
that'd be a cool one. He's got an awesome charge attack. Like I said, his charge B, because he charges his fist in the
Yeah.
game, and then the longer you charge it for, the further it goes. So that works out. He's got his helicopter jump for his up B. So he's just got everything in the game transfers directly over to Smash layout. That being said, I think his sort of his fan following is large enough that it's viable for them to put him in the game, and I think he'll fit in there really nicely. And then and he has costumes from the game as well. I don't know if you've all played Origins or Legends.
Yeah,
and
Mario
you can
Luigi
switch it out a bit,
costume,
Yeah, there's a Mario and Luigi one, but he's got heaps of costumes in there, and you can even have a Murphy skin or something, because they again in the game they all have the same moves, just slightly changed, and that would work perfectly for him. On the ballot, I said have Rayman to further strengthen your relationship with Ubisoft as a way to thank them for all the games they released for your console when you had nothing else going.
You literally
I
wrote that.
I had
That's so funny.
Zombie U for like for so long before anything else came out.
I think the first two games we owned were Zombie U and New Super Mario Bros. U
Yeah.
for like 3 months.
And
or
then like
something.
Assassin's Creed 3 came out on it.
But can I just say, regardless of whether or not Ubisoft is by far the highest sort of third-party supporter for Nintendo, it's just tough. It's tough to sell third-party on Nintendo platforms.
Definitely,
and Nintendo know that, and they need to be aware of it. And I think that's the strategy that they're going to adopt moving forward. Is they're going to realize that it's going to be a Nintendo console first, and there needs to be the games for it. So I think the ballot's going to bring out sort of two sort of camps. These people that are very much for like the third party, bringing them in, more of those, and I think that's great as well. And then I think there's also going to be that crowd that are like, let's bring up some of the more forgotten Nintendo characters, because
obscure or obvious.
obscure or obvious.
Well, one thing
forgotten.
I'm worried about is the fact that this is a global thing. It's not like, hey Australia, what's your opinion?
Yeah.
Or, hey white people, what's your opinion? Like, because I mean, in Japan, they're probably going crazy for Monster Hunter characters.
Yeah.
And
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like
that's
that.
true. Yeah.
And like in the video, they say Cat
Mario.
Mario. I do not want to see another Mario.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Mario is enough. Like
Cat Mario.
it's like it's on.
You can't vary them enough. I don't think.
Well,
Yeah, you're
if
right.
you look at Mario Kart, there's like 17 Marios and like 10 Peaches and all these different character things of each character.
Let's
Like
just
you
bring in
just
Paint
need
Mario while
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
there.
just
I know, I mean,
every
that-
single like
It
iteration
works
of
more in
Mario
Mario
will be
Kart.
in it.
It works
Yeah.
more in Mario Kart when you've got it to be like, I just want this
More of
skin
a
because
skin,
I'm more akin to, that's my favorite kind of Mario. Maybe Cat Mario is my favorite kind of Mario.
On that
and
note
that's what I
too,
want to use.
I also think like we've got to remember in Mario Party 10 recently they brought Spike as a character.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
the guy that vomits up, well not vomits up, but throws the rolling logs that have spikes on them.
He's like a boss
He's
in
serious.
one of the games.
Well,
And
apparently he's really popular. Like, obviously, popular enough
think-
to put on a game.
Yeah, I think Mario Party 10 is not necessarily the best sort of
Example.
indicator of characters that
No.
they should include.
So who did you vote for, Adam?
Like I said, I did vote for Waluigi.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I cite the fact that it's that thing of like, it's an assist trophy, but it's it could be so close to being a fully fledged character.
Well, the assist trophy just runs around and smacks people with his tennis racket.
Yeah, he does.
I think majority of the top characters who will be voted in are assist trophies or background characters.
Skull Kid
already.
will get voted for. But
Yeah, Skull Kid will be huge, but it'll be really. I think that'll be a really hard one to put in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as my love for Zelda, I didn't vote for Skull Kid.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think, this is really just a sort of data mine for Nintendo, and then they're going to look at possibly, if they can bring 1, 2, or 3 characters moving forward, that's really going to place them
They
better.
could very well just say, "Oh, these are the top 20. All right, we'll release one every 2 months."
Yeah.
Because what are they doing? They're doing each character's like $4.99, $3.99, or something like that, and then $7.99 for both consoles.
Something like that.
If 1 million people buy each of those, it's almost $4 million just for a
free,
single character. And
I'm
then if you do that
interested-
every couple of months, diehard fan, I mean, I will absolutely buy every one. I'm going to be losing all my money just to downloadable Smash characters.
But
Not to
you
mention
say
the
that,
amiibos.
Cam, but I do think the price is really accessible, and it's at a point
I agree.
where, like, I was looking at the Mario Kart DLC tracks, and they, for both sets of
$12 or
tracks
something?
to be 12 Australian dollars.
Yeah, that's just
is
unheard of over here.
It's just unheard of.
Well,
And,
let's leave that for when the Mario stuff comes up.
So I voted for Shovel Knight, obviously, clear for obvious reasons, and Inkling.
one's another
I
one.
think Inkling is basically confirmed.
Yeah, Inkling's going to be.
We'll talk about the amiibos later on, or amiibo, that's the plural. But Inkling and Shovel Knight, it's got to happen, and I'll lose my shit. If
You
that
mean
happens.
Inkling from Splatoon?
Yeah.
That's
But male
a,
and female
that's a
skins.
game I'm really excited about as well, which we'll talk about later on.
Alright, so next wave of amiibos. So we got
Yep.
Charizard, Greninja, Pac-Man, Wario,
Robin,
Jigglypuff, Robin,
Lucina.
yeah, Lucina, I can
And
never
Ness.
remember her name, and Ness. So the Charizard and Greninja one look cool as hell. Jigglypuff looks dumb, but that's just a Jigglypuff, I think.
Yeah, the
It's
Jigglypuff
just-
looks derpy.
Yeah.
You-
Are there any of
Your
those that you guys find you
anti-Jigglypuff
have to
agenda.
get that you got definitely got
Dude,
out and buy straight away?
I gotta get Greninja, man. Like,
gotta get
I've only
Greninja.
got Link so far, and I'm really scared about falling into like being the collector. You know?
Why?
I've already done it.
You've-
I've already
you've
done
slipped?
it. I think I've slipped. No, I think I was close to the edge. So my sort of amiibo thing is I really went all in on that first wave. Kind of saw the proof of concept. Wasn't really sold on. Like, I'm not sold
You
on
bought
them
it on
in
the
Smash.
figurines.
I
alone,
bought it
yeah.
more on the
Yeah.
figurines. Like, they're cool figurines. I won't. And the price is right. Like, it's a decent enough price.
Come on down!
It is. Come on down and buy some amiibo because the price is right.
I think the price should be a little cheaper. I think more people would buy them if they were $3 cheaper.
But it's just the Australia tax.
Yeah,
really.
that's
I mean,
the
that's
real
what
thing,
it's
isn't
about.
it?
It's
What I was really happy with is the fact that they're continuing the whole direct does this, but it's not just, hey, this is coming out this year, this is coming this year. They've got the whole year's worth of releases and even stuff coming out in
They've
the
given
future,
us a schedule of stuff to look forward
which
to.
is really
which
good.
is
They're
cool, yeah.
building hype.
They do
like
it. They do that a
crazy.
lot. They
do it
focus
really
on the year rather than.
and that's my hope is that this being the pre sort of E3 Nintendo Direct is that we've still got surprises on the way. Like there's still
stuff.
Metroid.
and well, I don't know if it's Metroid. I do think it's Star Fox Wii U though,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
Star Fox
think
is coming.
I think we're going to see hopefully playable footage of that
At E3.
at E3.
Yeah,
I
that'll
think
happen. Yeah,
that'll
especially with no
definitely
Zelda,
happen.
it kind of has to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, separate discussion.
So we got
Yeah.
July. We've got Dark Pit and Palutena. The figurines, like those sort of the JRPG style ones, like the figurines actually do look really cool. I like the fact that they've gone to the detail of like putting in every
It
little
is
bit.
really detailed. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
September.
Kid Icarus is not a JRPG.
I meant that
just an
style.
adventure game.
I meant that style of design.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay, fair
Not
enough.
the actual game itself.
Like the anime sort of.
Yeah,
like
anime,
hair,
that's what
hairy
I
So
thing.
my criticism maybe with some of these new ones that have been announced is obviously they're going to release all of these Smash figurines.
Yeah.
But my issue is unless it's the core sort of Mario amiibos that have shown to be compatible with more wide range set
Yeah.
of games, like I don't see Dark Pit and Palutena being.
What are they going to
that
be compatible with?
no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, there'll be another Kid Icarus game for 3DS, and they'll bring it out for that, I'm sure. But
Maybe
that's
maybe.
not a
we
definite
just don't
thing.
know. I think
Sakurai's
actually
working on
3DS
Smash
is
Bros.
3DS is maybe more on its way out as well as
Yeah.
I think they've recently re-released the new 3DS to bring some life into it. But we don't know if there's life, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road with this.
Who knows where
We are getting a successor, I think, sometime soon. But yeah,
Let's move this along because it's going a lot longer just talking about amiibos.
Yeah.
So
We can talk
September
about
we
the
got
others all
Olimar,
day.
and which I think the fact that the Pikmin are on it is cool.
Yeah.
Because I know
Yeah.
I saw something a while ago that there was going to be like individual Pikmin
Amiibo,
amiibos.
really, wow.
But it's obviously they're not gone through with it.
That would be
Baby
a cash
Bowser
grab.
looks cool as hell.
Yep.
Dr. Mario, if he was in his Dark Mario suit, I'd be buying it
paint
because
it,
that's like the coolest old costume I've ever seen.
Cam, I don't know if you've been seeing on the internet, but there have been some
Yeah,
good
a lot of
people
modding.
painting
Yeah, we were talking
some
about that
amiibos.
just
It's
before.
pretty cool.
We got Zero Suit Samus.
Sexy
which
as hell.
I hate these stupid little like the plastic they have.
This is
like
not
I understand
Wii
it
To help
has
them stand up,
has
yeah.
to stand up,
Yeah.
but it looks so bad. At least they're making it clear now. Like in the first one, they were like, "Hey Fox, we'll put a blue background on it."
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
no one
Well,
will care.
the Link one's got the yellow stuff.
Yeah.
I think the
But
Captain
Ganondorf-
Falcon one
Oh,
has
he
got
looks
like a
cool as
gold-
hell.
Ganondorf
I will be
looks
buying
cool, yeah.
Ganondorf. I've started like not really maining him, but just playing him a lot more than I used to. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Ganondorf. I'd like to see big things coming from him. And then
Oh, it's just the two
they've gone
Fire
into
Emblem
it.
characters
Yeah,
being compatible with
Codename
Codename
Steam. I like that they're branching out. I think
Yeah.
it's good that it's not just like, hey, Smash Bros, buy this for it. It's like, cool, now I have like 40 amiibos that only work for Smash and I can only use up to 8 at a time. What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because
So-
I do think the Smash implementation is lacking, and it's hard because
It is.
I think we've seen better proofs of concept for it. I think the idea that they're veering towards now with Amiibo is this idea of DLC, unlockable costumes, and I think that's cool. I think they need to do more of that. I'd really like to see some good integration with the Pokemon Amiibo in some sort
Yeah.
of Pokemon game.
That'd be
something,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of sort of integration, there's, they announced Amiibo Tap, which is
Yeah.
sort of similar to the Masterpiece mode in Super Smash
Yes,
Bros,
yep.
where you can play sort of little tidbits of the vast virtual console library of Nintendo games. The difference with this one is that it's sort of selected scenes as opposed to
Yeah,
a
individual
hard
levels
3-minute.
instead of just here's your time, you can go.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird when it's not tied to the amiibo that you've bought. So
Yeah, it's random.
Yeah,
When I
it's
first saw this, I'm like,
game.
oh, that's pretty cool. If you want to play a Mario thing, you have to go out and buy Mario. And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, they're not set. It's random each
Yeah.
time. I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And I was like, I don't know if I want to pay for this just to have, like
It's
the
free.
chance at a cool thing. And then at the end it
oh,
says that
okay,
it's
right,
free. I was
right.
like, okay, well that's worth it because now you have just a side bonus.
So
for
like
having these
they're explaining
amiibo.
this here. Obviously one amiibo can have one Mario amiibo can have one game, another Mario amiibo
Yeah.
can have another game. So
I think it'd be cool for like trading with your friends. Like if you
Yeah.
both, if,
Oh, yeah, I
like,
wonder how
if
that
your
would
friends have multiple amiibos, you can go, all right, well, I'll scan in my Luigi for you, and then we'll see what my Luigi does. And oh, cool! Like it adds in some sort of friendliness the fact that you can
Yeah.
trade. Like oh, well, I've got Dr. Mario on my Kirby. Like, do you want to borrow it for your? And I'll have your Kirby that has like Metroid on it or something.
But I think for those people that will have like 30 amiibos come June, it's like, I think it should just be varied enough that you probably have
yeah,
Doubles or
enough
something,
of the games. Or, if you're that hardcore enough of a Nintendo fan, you probably do have access to those games already.
yeah.
And,
Okay.
speaking of favourites...
The 30th anniversary video that they've released is so cool. I think it's an amazing way of showing
Showcasing, like, what it can do,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it looks cool. It's like you can tell that it's it's like fan made. You can see that this is used for that game.
Yeah.
And the fact that they go from gen to gen is so cool. Like
And
I
Mario's
really
always done well with mods and stuff as well. So
Yeah, and
this is just
to-
a great way to showcase
To
that.
give the community like tools to actually do it legit is so cool, and I'm just getting a massive Mario Paint vibe from this. Like I don't know if anyone played that, but
I never got to, but I think ultimately a game that's so creation focused will live and die by its community.
Yes.
And I think, something like this, as long as the tools are there and they're in an effective way online to share those levels in a quick and efficient way, people will go towards this.
We'll put it this way: if you look at the create a level from Smash Bros, that it's really basic and
Yeah.
honestly not as good as some previous
I
versions
was
they've had of
disappointed
it.
with that.
Yeah.
But
No,
this,
I think it was better than Brawls,
yeah,
but not by much. I don't think.
yeah.
I'm really excited to see what people come up with.
There's
I
like
think
so many dick
Well,
shaped
that's what I'm saying. But
levels.
that was the Smash Bros one was pretty lackluster, but the community was huge. I mean, they invented Smash Ball.
Oh,
and all
Smash
this stuff.
Ball, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if this is slightly better, and I've already from the screenshots I've seen,
It's
it's already
definitely
way
better,
more in
yeah.
depth.
Yeah.
The community will be huge. And it won't be long till someone realizes, oh hey, like look, we can set it to like infinite time and play soccer on it. Or something
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think
Start
it'll be
having like
really
Mario Prison Break or
cool.
something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You can get away with it.
You can make movies out of it. You could have like moving scenery and stuff, and have
You
like
can tell stories and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think it'll be really cool.
However, there are still sort of those glaring issues where we are kind of waiting on, and I think they did announce this in the direct with Smash Bros. And those sort of sharing of levels and that sharing of the created content. So that's hopefully coming soon because I think that'll really get people jazzed up about it. And
It's unbelievable it's taken that long, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
it's
it
way
has
too long
taken
for that.
a tad too long as well. And there was this idea about some Miiverse level in the game.
Yeah,
that I don't know if that's coming
I
or
quickly
not.
want to talk about this. You do get to create your own worlds, which is so awesome.
Yeah. Just look at that.
Yeah,
That's
just
great.
to have more than one level and have it sort of flow
And
together.
if you can share your world, like if I can send you my like world 1, and then you can play through it, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one's coming out in September, which will be really good. And they're also kind of teasing at some other 30th anniversary stuff. I don't know if that's by the way of maybe the new Club Nintendo launch.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe that could be something that'll coincide
I'm really
with
hoping
it.
for a new 3D Mario game at E3, but we didn't get one last
Yeah,
year.
we'll see.
See how it goes.
I think that's tough because I do think, unfortunately, I think 3D World is that new 3D Mario game.
Yeah, but it just wasn't as good as Galaxy.
Yoshi's
Woolly
Woolly
World.
World.
Can't tell you how excited I am for this game.
I think the first, obviously, without looking at too much gameplay, it looks great. It is a really, really visually appealing game so far, and that's only off of like 3 seconds.
I think
of
just
gameplay.
generally there's a lot of people excited about this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough because, you know, you could say that Yoshi's always been sort of the easier sort of platformer.
Along with Kirby.
You know, if you have to like put them in tiers of difficulty, you could maybe say that Donkey Kong's at the top
Yeah, I
in
agree,
terms
yeah.
of highest difficulty games, and they really get more of the hardcore audience. You've always got people wanting to play Mario games, so that's sort of fatigued
just looks so
recently. You get Kirby, which is teamed as super easy, and then Yoshi's kind of above Kirby as
Yeah,
well.
I
Well,
definitely agree
that's
with that.
the thing that stood out to me here is the fact that they said this game is going to have 2 modes: classic mode
Yeah.
and flying Yoshi
Mellow
mode or
mode.
mellow mode. I think that's really, really good because it even says in it like this will be challenging
Is it
for
sandbag?
yeah,
Yeah.
this will be challenging for traditional players, new players, old players. Like it doesn't matter what level you're at. This will be a challenge at
There you
some
go,
point.
classic mode.
You do
or
have to
mellow
take
mode.
it with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
because like it's what's difficult to Nintendo, you know, like
It's true. Like I think Nintendo in recent years, with the introduction of things like the Super Guide, has kind of aimed more at that casual base because they
Yeah.
know that that's
They just want people to
Here
pass
we
the
go.
game.
they do.
The
They
most
want
adorable
people
toy
to
of
explore that
2015.
content.
That's gonna be great.
So
Nintendo
The Yarn
announced
Yoshi.
a Yarn Yoshi amiibo plush that is compatible with Yoshi's Woolly World, and I assume as a Yoshi amiibo will also be compatible with all the other games
Yeah.
that Yoshi's compatible with.
I gotta say, this 2 Yoshi mode is really, really cool. The fact that it opens up a 2-player for
Yeah.
2-player campaign
Yeah.
essentially, or single player with smart AI, fantastic.
it's
It
getting a lot of
reminds-
hate though. Like I don't know why it's getting so much hate.
I think it's because it reminds me so much of the Cherry
The double
Mario
cherry, yeah.
concept,
Yeah.
and I feel like that concept's been done really well in 3D World.
Oh, guys,
But
Splatoon.
not to the point of, not to the point of repeating it necessarily so soon. But Splatoon is another game coming out, which is Nintendo's sort of real first foray into the genre of shooter.
Yeah.
And they've done it in a real Nintendo way, in a Nintendo sort of
Uniquely
vibe.
Nintendo.
So
Yeah.
Adam and I briefly got to play this at PAX Oz last
Yes,
year.
Yeah,
PAX
how's that?
Australia. It was really
great,
good.
yeah.
I had a really fun time sort of getting into it and having it was a quick sort of 10-minute, 15-minute demo.
Yeah, that was just a chance to play the game was great.
Yeah, and I think my concern is I'd love to see it have that online base as well. So I really want it to be like the equivalent of a Call of Duty, where I'll jump into an online game, be able to voice chat with my friends,
Yeah.
and play a game of Splatoon. I think that would be really good, and it could be a really fun way of playing that game online. I just don't know if the infrastructure's there for Nintendo.
You were talking about some of
unless
the team modes
passionate
earlier,
enough.
weren't you?
Yeah, so what really popped me for this one is the fact that they announced so many different modes. Because I know originally, like, it was always going to be a multiplayer game, and they said here's a single campaign. But the fact that they've got like competitive,
Yeah,
they've
and
got
the 1v1,
casual,
yeah.
1v1, and then the 4-on-4. This opens up a huge window for competitions and competitive play. Like if you look at, there's professional Call of Duty players, there's professional League of Legends players, there could very well be professional Splatoon players. What's good about this is this appeals to everyone. Mums will like their kids playing this because there's no ultra violence. Teenagers will like it because of its the actual gameplay of it. Young kids will like it because look at the cute little squids and I get to run around and paint stuff.
It's got a very Nickelodeon vibe.
Yeah,
Definitely. I think. Look, I'm excited for it. I think everyone in the room is excited for it. It's
Ever since it was announced at E3,
It's been my most hyped game.
I've been waiting for it so bad, and I'm hanging out for every little thing they say about it. And this was the first real big reveal they've had, and they've showed you a lot of stuff. There's a lot of gameplay. They've announced a lot of modes. They've gone into depth with some of the stuff, and they've even started showing additional characters and additional gear and stuff you can get. Like there's this one, someone's running around for a roller, and that was really cool. And I like what they announced it later on in the video, the amiibos for it. So they've got there's the pack of 3, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
It's sort of getting a Skylanders vibe because that's how Skylanders sell a lot of their stuff.
Do they?
They're serious about making you take your money essentially.
They are.
So no, I think it's really good. I would, it's always tough to see a new IP launch, especially a shooter launch, and to see, we've seen it go one way with, say, Titanfall had a really good launch. People were playing that constantly. Fell away a bit, but I think still has a sort of regular community. But also conversely, we've maybe seen, a recent launch like Evolve, and you can see, how the concepts can be there, it can be exciting, but if it's not, resonating with people, then the games just aren't there and people sort of
I find it really interesting seeing this coming off the back of recent shooter like Destiny. Just a whole nother idea. And
Bazooka gun, that's really cool.
One of my favourite things is that, so I'm a bit opposite to you, Cam. I actually haven't been watching as much as I can get my hands on because I want it to be as fresh as possible. And
I'm the same.
Because I've seen enough that I'm just like, alright, I will like this game no matter what, so I'm just going to put it. And the other awesome touch is that I love the colour combinations.
Yeah.
Like, there's no green and yellow. They're specifically clashing, so you can tell here we got the Splatoon amiibos.
You got the boy and the girl, and then the little inkling squid. So I think it's good that you're setting up mascots for it.
Yeah.
And there's the roller. It looks so cool.
Again, to cross over brands, bring it to things like Smash Bros. And
It's to make that. Sorry to interrupt you. It's to make that IP identifiable and to say that this is something that's wholly Nintendo. Because I think it is tough. Because when I look at these characters, I don't necessarily if I didn't know this was coming out on Nintendo console, I maybe wouldn't think that this was a Nintendo IP. It's not necessarily the most Nintendo-looking characters.
Yeah.
So they're really pushing this idea of Splatoon is part of the family now, and it's gonna be a long-term thing if it sells well.
What do you guys think about the naming of the Inklings? Because obviously right now we've just got boy and girl, and they're avatars for your character, right? You can customize it, but do you think that might hurt them in the long run where, Duck Hunt Dog still hasn't had a name after how 20 years or something? Now it's just Duck Hunt Dog.
Is that a bad thing?
No, because
I don't know. It's up to, what do you guys think?
I don't think it will be. Like I said, it's just an avatar, and I think the Inkling Squid thing will be more of the mascot.
So that will be fast.
That will be the mascot, and they'll just sort of be side characters.
I think it's very indicative of them being such a Japanese company though. They don't name that. It wasn't like
they're bad at naming. They're bad at naming.
Well, yes, we can have a whole other podcast about
Mario and Luigi Mario.
The first thing I can think of when you mention that is Pokemon Trainer instead of being called Ash on Smash Bros.
Well,
they had a chance to call him something like Ash. They still call him Pokemon Trainer.
Even just Red.
I think it's better though because to me it's that idea of you have identification with the player, and if it's not your name,
So the girls go out by the girls.
It's not a third party. It's not a third party thing. And maybe that's a key Nintendo sort of difference, whereas, it's all about Master Chief for Halo, or it's all about, Colonel, is it Price on Call of Duty. So, it's more about an identifiable character as a name, or Marcus Phoenix for Gears. Whereas this is about, I'm taking agency, I'm the player, I could be in that thing. And it's, letting the imagination run wild a little bit more.
And like what you said about Mario Maker, is that this will live and die by the community, and if this gets received well, then we could see this just is going to be the first of many Splatoon games.
I mean, if you look back, Smash Bros wasn't ever meant to be what it was, and now it's one of the biggest thing.
It's
this could easily
monster.
live or die. I personally think it will live just because it's what the community needs right now, and I think they'll respond well to it. That being said, anything can happen.
But it's so important that the online infrastructure is there. That's my main concern.
They need to. They need to
it
get
needs
that
to be
set up.
there, and it needs to operate like Smash Bros does competitively online, like Mario Kart does competitively online. But
They
it
need to stop being
needs-
dumb and make like chat and that work through games.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
The fact that you can only talk for 30 seconds while you're in lobby and you'll be
Yeah.
mid-sentence and then the game starts. Oh yeah, by the way, man, we're in this next
Yeah.
and then it's just loading screen. Just make it go. Every
Yeah.
other system has it.
I just think what Adam said is they didn't set this up 10 years ago, and now they're
Yeah.
struggling. So
They're still playing catch up with it.
with the advent of the NX, we might see some.
Yeah.
And I think the partnership with DNA is going to really show that, and that they're serious about making online a genuine thing, because they talked about the Miiverse app coming out, or some way of looking at it on mobile,
Smartphone app.
and that hasn't happened yet.
No.
And so I think that's what they're working towards, and I think voice chat is something that's really important.
Yeah.
Well, Splatoon doesn't have voice.
So they've
Not-
said
not
said
yet.
that.
Not in-game voice chat.
Which is going to be a shame.
It's just disappointing as hell.
This is something that they'll need to put in sooner or
Yeah,
later.
they need to fix that.
Because
It's
using the
a
Mario
strategic
Kart
game,
example, I would, whenever I play Mario Kart online, we Skype each other.
Yeah.
And we race. So, while that's competitive and you don't need necessarily voice chat, it adds to the experience. It's an additive thing, and I don't understand why Nintendo would be so anti
It's still
it.
so reluctant.
I think they're just worried about these like 10-year-old kids playing like, oh, play Mario Kart, I love it. And
Yeah,
then
but
some
like-
dude's like, little shit, man, you
Yeah.
suck at Mario Kart. But like every other system has a blocking system.
Yeah, no,
and
exactly.
I
You had those sort of
easily
moderators and
incorporate
stuff,
that. And
like-
with the gamepad, it's be like tick, tick, tick. You're off.
Bottom line, it's 2015. That is not an excuse anymore.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
And I love the fact that the amiibos have gear you can't get anywhere else. You have to have the amiibo, and that just makes
Schoolgirl
people go.
outfit.
Yeah, I'm calling it right here. The schoolgirl and just the
we
Indian
have
girl
an
in
R rating
general.
on this podcast.
There's going to be so much fodder for her. She's going to be Rule 34 all over the shop. There's going to be so much.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like cause
There will be tentacles.
she's a
involved as
squid.
well.
She has tentacles. She's a girl. She has a schoolgirl outfit. She plays with paint.
Japanese
It's
origin.
Japanese. Everything you need for a horrible, horrible existence is there. Alright, next announcement, which
Probably one
I
of the
called
biggest
this.
announcements,
I
to be
called
honest.
this like E3 last year. I said they need to do this, and they'll take off like crazy.
They've said this, man. They've said this.
But
I know that's what I'm saying.
they've
But
said this
now
for
that
ages.
now that it's in, it's huge.
But you know what? They needed to do it from the start, and
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
they did.
I
They
think this is a case of, I don't want to say too little, too late, but this should have been day one. This,
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make
we
any sense.
had day one Nintendo 64 Virtual Console. I understand maybe it took some time with DS to get it up to scratch, but the first thought most people had with the Wii U gamepad was, oh, it's a touchpad. There has to be some way we can do dual screen interaction with it, and that got people really excited
Yeah.
for a Virtual Console. And so I think Nintendo 64. I'm biased. I think it has some of the best games on. Of all
Yeah,
the
well, I think
It's
we
what
all-
everybody grew up on.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the power of DK64 being on the Virtual Console, because that is really, really big for Nintendo, having that rare IP. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the advent of those guys breaking off and making their own studio and Playtonic Games, having
Yeah.
the same sort of thing, because they're doing that.
I think
Again, the pricing.
it's
Very
spot
good.
on.
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
And
You know,
that's regular pricing. They'll definitely have sales, and the fact that they have the $2 transfer,
Yep.
I think it's very approachable for all sort of
Yep.
walks of gamers.
So has anyone bought any?
I haven't yet.
So we're watching,
not yet,
we're
but-
watching the American presentation now. Obviously, Australia got Donkey Kong 64 already.
yeah,
and
as well.
Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart 64, and there was
Mario
a fourth
64.
one.
Wario
Oh, sorry,
Touch.
Mario Kart 64 and WarioWare Touch. And they had an offer where if you bought 3, you get the fourth one free.
Yeah.
I am going to buy all 4. I just need to go
Your funds.
and get some credit for it. So I think Virtual Console is something that's really important. I don't know. I think long term though, I've seen PlayStation Now as a concept is really something that I find quite interesting, where you sort of pay this amount per month and you have access to a wide-ranging library. And I think if Nintendo were to somehow really tap into that emulation, because I just don't understand why it takes so long for each release month after month to get
Yeah,
that
I
emulation
don't understand
on
either,
point.
and I don't understand why. Like, I can respect the fact that they're not just going to dump it all and have like steady releases to keep people interested, but it really doesn't need to be as long as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. And
they're sitting on a huge stockpile that they refuse to use.
yeah,
Like,
can you
Oh, it's
imagine?
money. It's literal money.
I think you could charge $10 a month to have access to every NES, SNES 64 game on Wii U, have it be playable, and then maybe have your Nintendo DS and your GBA as sort of
Extra
extra
payoff, yeah.
extra payoff.
Or even like
And
the
you could get people.
PlayStation Play account where you
Yeah.
join up for 12 months. Each month you get
A free game or
SNES
something,
game
yeah.
and all that.
Definitely.
I think that'd be good too, to
Yeah.
have that sort of paid sort of concept. But I think, they're still sort of experimenting with DLC and what their users are going to pay for it. But, I had a friend of mine who said with the Mario Kart DLC, again, just to go back to that, he would have paid $30.
Yeah,
to
and
have
I
it.
love
Yeah,
this
a lot of
one.
people
Yeah.
would. Well, can you imagine if they released Pokemon Blue as...
Oh,
Yeah, that will make so much money
Yeah,
because you've got core fans buying it, and you've got all the fake fans like, oh my god, Pokemon's available.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
just
play
look how
it."
much attention Twitch got with it.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
too long ago, just revamping the whole brand.
But like, you don't even need to do anything. Like, you can keep it as is. You don't need
Yeah.
to fix anything. It's just boom, done.
Yeah, and no, I think that's really important. So to see them actually come out with virtual console games is going to be really exciting. I will, Super Mario 64 is one of my favorite games of all time. I will be playing it again. I'll be buying
I
it again.
transferred it from my Wii for $1.50 or $2 or whatever it was. It is fantastic.
Speed
the,
runs!
the controller is leagues better than the classic controller and the N64 controller.
Do you play it with the Pro Controller?
I
or
played
the
with
gamepad?
that.
Yeah, you played with the Pro Controller. Awesome.
It's
The
fantastic.
fact that you can map buttons is amazing.
Yeah.
Because they're not locking you into like, oh my god, like it's left hand stick or it's right hand stick.
So on the Wii U, that is A, obviously, and that
Yeah.
is the jump button. So I just changed that to B,
Yeah.
the X button to B, and that is closely easier to jump with.
Yeah.
So I just like that. But it's really good. It running at 60 FPS from what I can tell. No lag. You get lag with N64. It's great.
I wonder what it's going to do for speedrun community if they're going to have different, like, okay, so here's original. Like, obviously, they say a speedrun doesn't count unless it's on original.
They always
No, no, no,
segment it.
acceptable.
They'll always segment it.
So what happens is you can play on any format you want as long as you're not using an emulator on a computer. That's kind of frowned upon.
Okay.
But N64 runs. People like playing on N64 and Virtual Console for different reasons.
Yeah.
Some people like the controller, whatever.
I wonder if it will.
VC
affect-
is faster though.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I think Virtual Console. I'd love to see some more 64 games. Some glaring ones for me. I think if they bring Pokemon Snap
Conker's Bad Fur
to
Day.
Wii U, Conker's bad.
Conker's
I
bad.
will.
No.
I will pay $1,000 for Conker's Bad
I don't
Fur
know
Day.
because
It's so
Conker
good.
had that recent involvement with Xbox and Project Spark. So I
Yeah,
don't know
but he's
if
just there
Conker's
as
making it, but
Well, we were talking about Rare IP with that Phil Spencer tweet.
Yeah.
So
If
like,
he's keen for that stuff, I don't see why not. They
Yeah.
can't open that window because they'll both just be printing money.
yeah, definitely. I think so. Now we're moving on to the
eShop, smattering of
games.
eShop, Jane.
Yeah.
I
Don't
personally
know much
don't
about these,
play
to
all
be
these sort of
honest.
indie games. They look cool, and I would play a lot more of them if they were cheaper. I understand the indie developers have to make money.
Yeah.
I bought Shovel Knight, and I
Octodad.
like it. I'm so keen for Octodad, the 4-player mode where each person controls a tentacle. That's got to be amazing.
It's so bad. It's so good though.
But it's good to see Nintendo try and secure some of the interest of these indie titles. One that really sticks out at me, I know it was published by Nintendo, but one indie title I had a really good time with was Pushmo. And,
Oh, okay.
yes, and the sequel as well, which was called 4 Blocks. Or,
It always interests me just
Yeah.
what indie developers
Full
are
mode
developing and
push
where what's going through their heads at the time and what they're interested in developing for.
Well, I love that 8-bit sort of style is viable. Like, people actually
Yeah.
like them, and people are still making them, and they're fun, and they're not cheap to make, but they're easier to deal with. And
It is tough though, because I don't want to see like just so many 8-bit titles.
Yeah,
8-bit
it's had a
platforms.
resurgence.
There are a lot
definitely,
of them.
yeah.
And there has, and we've kind of reached this point
Just gives it
where
that
it's-
retro vibe.
and
doesn't
it's
it?
like you can only play so much, so you kind of it gets a lot of those indie ones will get lost
Yeah.
in the crossfire because it's like, well, why play an indie one when I can always just go to Mario and have it be so consistent?
So I bought Box Boy. That was $6.50. It's awesome.
I want
It's
to
quite hard.
get it. This Don't Starve game looks actually pretty cool,
Yeah.
but it just looks too big. Like, I want to pass the game and be
Yeah.
able to play it properly, but it looks like
It's got Got a like Tim Burton feel to it.
Yeah.
My understanding was that one was has been released on other consoles as well.
Yes,
so,
this is on PS.
I think most of these
Vita
are
and
on Steam already.
yeah.
anyway.
So I think Nintendo have realised that they're not maybe securing these indie exclusives as much unless they are Nintendo published games. So I mean, Donkey Kong, Mario vs Donkey Kong Tipping Stars is one that I've heard has come out. First cross-buy game. I really want to support that because I think the more cross-buy games you have, the better as well.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's going to really show Nintendo that whatever their NX turns out to be, we're hearing rumours of it being a cross sort of platform where it is both a 3DS and
That
a
looks
Wii
amazing,
U.
Star Wars.
So I think that would be a really good idea, sort of moving forward if they continue that cross-buy initiative with some, sort of these titles.
Yeah, definitely.
Shovel Knight is one that's on 3DS and Wii U, and if
You've got that loyalty program as well. About you get
Yeah.
a discount if you buy both.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that
I'm not sure if you guys read, but recently they announced that Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Yes.
That's been announced for Wii U, 3DS, and Xbox One in the future, and it was initially going to be out on Wii U and 3DS, but Nintendo said no because of the controversial religious material, which is so weird. Every other platform had it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't shock me.
No, it
because
doesn't shock me at all.
Nintendo is it's they are they do err on the side of caution maybe more so
Yeah.
with those types of games. But I do know the Binding of Isaac Rebirth was one that was released on PlayStation Plus recently.
Yep.
And I think that it's one that's been quite well received. So
It has been, it's got a very Legend of Zelda vibe to it.
It's it's good to see that it's once again sort of moving to these Nintendo consoles.
Wow,
It's-
what is this game?
It is
trippy.
The bridge.
The bridge, yeah.
That's an
Basically
interesting
MC
one.
Escher the game.
Yeah.
For me to go out and buy one of these indie games, I think personally it either has to be ridiculously cheap so I can just try it out,
Yeah.
or someone I know has to give me awesome reviews on it saying, hey, check
Yeah.
this game out.
Well, I just counted them. That was 29 indie games.
It's a bit
29
It's
of
a
them.
much, do you think?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
a
it's
lot to
almost
go
too
through.
much. I mean, it gives you a good chance
Yeah.
to have a few, but it's almost too many.
I mean, most of them look like good quality
Yeah,
games, so
definitely.
which is it's stark contrast from the days of the Nintendo DS-ware or WiiWare titles, which were sort of laughable quality. I remember listening to certain sort of communities talk about the WiiWare downloads every week and just laughing. Like there were payable like notebooks that cost like $3, where you could just write a note in the 3DS and in the DS, and that was something that was charged money for, and it was like, who would buy this?
Yeah.
Bring back PictoChat.
Yeah,
I love
PictoChat.
PictoChat.
Oh.
Just sit in bed and like if I couldn't sleep, I'd be like, I'm drawing PictoChat.
Yeah.
That entertained us.
It's interesting. And so I think it's not like the main reason to buy a console from Nintendo. It never will be. But those games are gonna just sort of continue on, and it's gonna be something to look out for.
Yeah.
Alright, well, that's the first half of the direct.
Yes.
I think it's definitely worthwhile making this 2 parts.
It's-
Went in a bit of a long tangent on some of that things.
That's
There's
alright.
so much to talk about. There's so much stuff being
Yeah.
thrown at you.
Well, the second
such a
half is
small
pretty
point.
light,
Yeah.
but we can do a second part for that, I think.
Great.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
So not really a bad attempt for our first podcast. A few things we missed out, but all in all, a pretty good show. Obviously, the direct is a bit long for us to put into one podcast, so we're going to split this one up into 2. So stay tuned for the second part of the very first Games podcast.
The games!